Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for our Saturday upgrade commander build video featuring the Tier 10 American destroyer, the USS Laffey, which I featured yesterday in a Friday highlight video. I'll tag that at the end if you want to check that out. But this is a pretty good destroyer overall from the recent Dockyard. And so let's go ahead and get into details of upgrades, commander, combat signals, and etc. So what kind of destroyer is Laffey? Well, Laffey is a hybrid destroyer that leans more towards the gunboat role. You have 10 533mm torpedoes that only have an 8-kilometer range, where with the guns being 6 127mm guns with a 12.4 kilometer range and a reload time of 2.6 seconds. Also with the burst fire, bolsters this being more of a gunboat destroyer, but still in the hybrid category, not like a full-on like Ragnar or something like that as an example. So she is a destroyer that's a bit of a knife fighter with her specialized repair party, her smoke screen, and burst fire, and we'll get into that as we go on. So in terms of the armor layout, it's pretty standard. I mean, we're talking basically about a gearing. So it's 19 with 13 up top. You will have your main batteries incapacitated at various points, as well as torpedoes and the works. So talking about the modules on this ship, right now, because we have the main battery mod 3 in the 6th slot, we have a 2.6 second reload time, 180-degree turn time of 6.9, and that's taking grease the gears on John Doe to get that 180-degree turn time down. Naturally there's a bit of a nerf also when we take this skill, -13 to the main battery traverse speed. The armament, where we have high explosive shell damage 1800 and maximum AP shell damage 2100. Hit point wise, we have 22,000 hit points. We can bolster this further with Charlie Kilo, which will take us up to 23,100. Laffey is low on hit points in terms of being a tier 10 destroyer. As Wargaming introduced more and more destroyers in the game that have larger hit points, it puts more pressure on these kind of destroyers. Granted, Laffey has a specialized repair teams, which we will talk about. Torpedoes, they have a very, very long reload time, 140 seconds, so basically 2 minutes and 20 seconds. A range of 8 kilometers, damage 17,900, 66 knots, so average speed for torpedoes, with a detectability range of 1.4, so kind of nice. It's not like 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, giving enemy more of a reaction time to try to avoid the torpedoes. Your main battery firing range is 12.4, and then with the propulsion, we're rocking 36.5 knots. With Sierra Mike, we can get up to 38.3 knots, which I do recommend running. We don't get an engine boost here, so sometimes the speed is quite important here with the lack of an engine boost here for this American destroyer. Upgrade-wise, here in the first slot we have Main Armaments Mod 1, which reduces the risk of the main battery torpedo tubes becoming incapacitated by -20%, improving the survivability by +50%, and the repair time -20%. I don't really recommend going for auxiliary armaments. It's just to bolster only AA, and no need for the DCP Mod 1 special upgrade. You're going to want this one. The second slot, Engineering Protection, reduces the risk of your engine and steering gears becoming incapacitated by -20%, and improves the repair time by 20% and the steering gears repair time by 20% if either of those should be incapacitated. Other possible option, we could talk about the Defensive AA Fire Mod 1. This is an average AA destroyer that becomes excellent only when activating her defensive AA fire consumable. So you could bolster the action time here by a +20% and also improve the consumables cooldown by -10%. But the reality is, most aircraft carriers are not within your AA bubble, which is 5.8 here on Laffey, for more than 40 seconds, right? That's kind of the downside, that Stalingrad has like a 60-second action time, but you rarely ever get full 60 seconds of action happening against enemy CV. Usually it's about a, let's say, 15 to 25 second engagement with the defensive AA. So I don't recommend taking it here. You could play an AA cruiser or something like that instead. So engine protection. On the third slot, I run the Aiming Systems Mod 1 since this boat focuses more on her main battery guns rather than torpedoes. So we're getting a tighter horizontal and vertical shell dispersion, which I'll put here on the right side of the screen for you to compare with and without. Torpedo tube traverse speed, we also get a little bonus there of plus 20%. Otherwise, you could possibly talk about main battery mod 2. If you watched yesterday's video, you could see the example when I had a Shimakaze appear behind me, and I couldn't get my gun swung around fast enough to shoot him before he disengaged and went dark. But that's also the reason why I take greasy gears on the Commander, where I'd rather have more accurate main battery. So realistically, you're looking at these two. And again, you could go for an AA build Laffey. Like, I'll keep that in mind as we talk here. But again, I would possibly argue there's other better destroyers that have great AA overall, rather than Laffey relying only on her defensive A to really get the most out of the AA suite that this destroyer has. Fourth slot, propulsion mod 1, time to reach full engine power when accelerating, negative 50%. Very helpful if you do find yourself, playing within that, let's say 10 to 12.4 range, where maybe you're gunboating another enemy destroyer or cruiser or battleship. Then you can play with them a little bit. I mean, granted, not having the engine boost is a bit of a downside to kind of help you more avoid that kind of incoming fire. You also have steering gears mod 1, negative 20%, but I'm not too keen on this. The rudder shift you actually have here on Laffey, I believe I think it's the second best in the game. I think it comes after, well, technically third after Azurali and Shimakaze, and then I believe it's Laffey, which is good, but it's still kind of this, it feels, how to say this, it's not like a thin destroyer, like super responsive, like Daring with Daring's enhanced propulsion, so it feels sluggish. You won't always avoid everything. But the propulsion, I believe, works better here than the steering gears mod 1. Fifth slot, concealment. This is a destroyer that focuses on key objectives, capture points that you get into gun engagements with other enemy destroyers. So taking a full conceal build is 6 by sea and 3 by air. I couldn't remember by air when we were talking today. I was thinking like 2.7, 2.9, but it's 3. So that is the best option to go for, in my opinion, out of all the consumable possible upgrades you could take here. Otherwise, if you really don't want to do concealment here, I would take steering gears mod 2 instead to have an even faster rudder shift time and steering gears repair time, negative 80%. Sixth slot, main battery mod 3. Your main battery reload time is reduced by negative 12%. So that's one of the reasons why you're seeing a 2.6 second reload time here. Otherwise, it'd be a bit higher stock. But we get a nerf on the main battery traverse speed of negative 13%, so something to take into account, but we've offset it with a seasoned commander running here on Laffey. Again, I really wouldn't consider playing Laffey as a torpedo destroyer. I mean, like, you literally have gearing for that, to be honest. Or you could even talk about unique upgrade gearing. So that's just much better to do than try to make a torp build out of Laffey. Laffey is really about the main battery, the burst fire, and utilizing the smoke to engage and disengage, and being able to repair damage from knife fights with enemy destroyers. If you did want to do a full A build, here you have Auxiliary Armaments mod 2, where you have continuous A damage plus 15%, damage from AA shell explosions plus 15%, and number of explosions produced by A defense salvos when the defensive A fire consumable is active. So if you want to play Laffey more according to her historical value from World War II, when she was bombarded by kamikaze Japanese planes, Laffey's a bit infamous for that, and propelling, and I think she took very minimal damage during that engagement, then sure, you could build out Laffey for an anti-air build. I mean, as an example, maybe you could do that and then play in operations, right? Where you've got some, if you land something like Hermes, the ops that have more planes, and you could have fun with that. So I can understand the historical value of wanting to build Laffey for AA, but again, remember, you only get the best AA out of this ship with the defensive AA fire active. Normal Laffey is average AA, But if you spec'd it for AA, you know, I could see you boosting some of the damage values here. Armament wise, so these are 127s. You get 6 127s. Your HE DPM, I believe, is 9th compared to all 37 other tier 10 destroyers. I mean, granted, this will eventually change when they bring more destroyers in the game, probably. So it's exact same armaments as gearing, identical everything between the high explosive and armor piercing. The only difference I think is gearing has a faster turret traverse, if I'm not mistaken. But here it's a 5% chance of causing fire and target. You know, we can boost that up as an example. Just throw on the combat fire signals and we get a 6%. You know, technically here you can see we get a chances of fire being caused by a shell of a caliber up to and including 160 millimeter. And then this one is chances of fire caused by a shell of a caliber up to including 160. So it's like 0.5%, so we get like a 1% total between the both of them. So you get some chances of starting fires. These 127 high explosive, pin 21. So if you have something like a Hoffman, I think Elbing has it, Hull with the 25 millimeter side plating, then you're going to want to be switching to the armor piercing, which does 2100 damage as a whole. Torpedoes, again, we have 140-second reload time. They're 8-kilometer range with 17,900 maximum damage. 66 knots, 1.4 kilometers. So these torpedoes are really meant more for defensive capabilities rather than offensive. I mean, yes, it's an offensive weapon, but I'm meaning it in the way if there's ships pushing into you, you really want to have these torpedoes as an ace up your sleeve. Depth charge, 5,100 maximum damage. You get 2 charges. Per charge is 14, so technically 28 bombs between both charges, with a reload time of 40 seconds. Then we have our burst fire consumable, which has a reload time of 22 seconds. I don't know why I thought I said something like 27 or 30 seconds yesterday, but it's a 22-second reload time. I think it's a bit higher if you don't have like Adrenaline Rush, or, you know, main battery mod 3 perhaps. So that could be maybe what I'm getting confused in my head on. But you get 3 bursts in a series, so that means 6, 12, 18 shots with 0.88 seconds between. So, you know, normally you just want to be firing without burst fire, but if you're, as I illustrated in yesterday's video, which are going to be tagged here at the end, you know, going behind islands, about to die, want to take the enemy destroyer with you, a submarine surfaces briefly, then goes under, then yeah, you want to utilize burst fire. Maybe you're about to go into smoke, or you're about to come out of smoke, and you want to get a burst fire off real quick before your smoke ends, then burst fire. Or setting a permafire. Consumables, damage control party, standard, 5-second action time, 40-second cooldown time, an unlimited number of charges. Stock, you get 2 specialized repair teams. With the commander build we get 3 specialized repair teams. And pretty positive you want all 3. Like, I use them quite strongly, to be honest. HP per second, 346. If we take India Delta, it'll go up to 415 HP per second. Action time, 20 seconds. Cooldown time, 80 seconds. And we have 3. If you do get in a destroyer gun engagement, you know, don't wait till the end of the engagement to pop the heal. You know, if you're going up against a pretty competent destroyer player or a destroyer that has like really good damage output, you know, you want to pop the heal early, because this is a 20-second action time. It's not like a little 5-second heal or something. It's a 20-second. So make sure to pop this because, again, we're talking about having limited survivability as a tier 10 destroyer. The smoke generator, this one's a bit of a new deal. It kind of goes with the new American destroyer line with the Burrows, which I plan to feature that ship eventually. You have an action radius of 0.45 kilometers, smoke screen dispersion time of 5 seconds, and you press, for me, the key Y to activate or deactivate the consumable. It has a total usage time and a minimum action time per activation. So, total usage time, we have 80 seconds. The minimum action time is 10 seconds, and the cooldown time is 30 seconds. So if you pop smoke and then you instantly disengage it, you know, you want to make sure that you're not going to need the smoke immediately again, because 30-second cooldown time. So mastering the usage of this 1 minute 20 second smoke is pretty important. You know, that you have to, when I press Y, you know, 10 seconds, I have to use at least that much before you can then turn around and turn it off and not have it for 30 seconds, right? So mastering this is pretty important to get the most out of Laffey. Then the defensive AA fire consumable, as I talked about in yesterday's video, the defensive AA fire consumable here is different than the one on gearing. So here you see continuous damage plus 200%, shell explosion damage plus 300%. If I click on gearing, we come over here, you're going to see 100% continuous damage and then 300% shell explosion damage. So the AA with defensive AA fire activated is massively huge compared to not having it. So it really steps up the game of your AA defense suite. So, you know, when you do have a CV, you know, planes flying around you, whatnot, you know, you definitely want to be utilizing the defensive AA, and we get 5 of them here, again, with the commander build running. Other combat signals here would suggest, you know, if I do click on the smoke, you can see it actually does not affect anything here. So just be mindful, you know, I don't know if that's intentional on Wargaming's part or unintentional. You know, I wouldn't mind running this just to have plus 10% more here on the smoke action time. But hey, it is what it is. You have November Foxtrot. It will reduce the cooldown of your consumables. So we go from 40 to 38, 80 to 76, 30 to 28.5, and then 80 to 76. Then I like running the A combat signal just to boost the A defense value. You know, makes the defensive A fire consumable that much more stronger. You know, then you could increase the flood chance if you want, which I think I've been running something like this. Otherwise, you could take Hotel Yankee, damage caused by ramming an enemy, plus 50%, damage received when ramming an enemy, negative 20%. Right, here is a commander. So this is one of the Seas commanders, John Doe and George Doe, identical in terms of their enhanced skills, specifically being the enhanced skill on the turret traverse. It's 20% rather than 15%. And then gun feeder is negative 60%, I think, rather than just negative 40%. So I like running John Doe because it helps the turret traverse be even faster. I'll probably end up running this build possibly on Burrows. I need to experiment with the line more. I've been playing Christopher, but I haven't taken Burrows out for a spin yet. But we shall see. So these commanders are available either for 35,000 coal, or the other one is 1,500 doubloons in the armory, as long as they haven't removed them, last that I recall. So let me just walk you through a 21-point build of what I recommend here. There's multiple different things we could be taking here, a couple other caveats, so I'll do my best to keep those in mind as we go along. So, in my opinion, you want the 10-point bread and butter build at 95% of destroyers, 90-95% running the game, which is these 4 skills, meaning you need 10 points. So, first is preventive maintenance, risk of your modules becoming incapacitated, negative 30%. We get a boost on secondary battery, but we don't have that here, and a boost to A mount survivability. So, nice, since we have a little bit of an A destroyer going on here. A 3-point commander, then take last stand. The ship remains partially able to sustain speed and maneuverability with the engine steering gears incapacitated, with the Laffey being more this kind of key objective, capture point zone, knife fight destroyer, engaging with other destroyers quite frequently and regularly. You really, really want last stand. It's not really an option to go without it, in my opinion. It's a must-have. The other must-have is definitely survivability expert, because we're talking about a destroyer that has very limited hit points. So even with Charlie Kilo, we're only get up to 23,100 hit points. If I come over to gearing, granted I don't have a commander on gearing right now, but 20,400. Which one am I running? I have him assigned to him right now. Maybe, I have a gearing right here. Oh, but that's not the right way to go. Just for the heck of it, I'll just throw him on. So it gets up to 24,050 hit points, and then you see Charlie Kilo there. So a little more hit points overall on gearing compared to Laffey, Granted, right, we don't have the specialized repair teams that Laffey has. So I just wanted you to kind of see that difference of how Wargaming's kind of nerfing the hit points on Laffey compared to Gearing. So again, Survival Expert is a must-have in my opinion. There's also another commander. It's not been available, I don't think, since I've played the game or started playing. It's like a hockey player that has an enhanced skill. I think it's on the Superintendent or Survival Expert, excuse me, for destroyers and cruisers. If you have that, I would recommend it. I'm hoping I'm phrasing him right. I know he has it for cruisers. I'm thinking he has it for destroyers, but I could be wrong. Then 10-point Consumables Expert, so ship's tactical range drops by -10%. So again, the 6 by sea and the 3 by air. After this 10 points, I'm pretty big about taking Adrenaline Rush as a 13-point commander, or you could take Superintendent next for your 13-point commander. Let's say you went with Adrenaline Rush first. Your main battery reload time is reduced by -0.2% for each 1% of HP lost on your ship. Improves the reload time of the torpedoes, right? 140 seconds is pretty brutal, let's be honest. And then a little bit of buff to the AA damage as well. Then a 16-point commander, I'd say take Superintendent. Gives you a 5th defensive AA and gives you a 3rd specialized repair teams. Very good. After 16 points for a 20-point commander, I would then go for Fearless Brawler. Your number of shell explosions and AA salvos goes up by +1. That is a permanent effect that we have on the AA defense. So if I come here, you can see number of shells in a salvo 4. And then we have the automatically activates, reduces your main battery reload time when your ship remains detected by an enemy ship, -10%. So we are shaving, if I come back over here, 2.6, we're saving 0.26 seconds off our reload time, which puts us at 2.34 second reload time, 2.4, or however they're going to phrase that when that skill activates. So that's really good. So it makes this main battery even more potent. I really like it. You have limited smoke time anyhow. You will get a lot of use out of the Fearless Brawler and getting a lot of damage out that much more quickly. Also helps if you're spotted with this skill and you've used a burst fire. So, yeah. Then a 21-point commander, then I would do the and grease the gears, main battery traverse speed, plus 20% here on John Doe. Now, granted, you could also run other commanders like Halsey here. If I go to his destroyer skills, he also still has the grease the gears and the gun feeder. It's a destroyer, you don't really need gun feeder skill, right? But then you would get some talents like the implacable. I said that right. Implaceable. I'm spacing right now as I'm learning Norwegian. Where if you activate a Confederate, so you get a Confederate achievement, you have a -20% on your main battery reload time and -10% on your torpedo tube reload time, which would be incredibly good. If you're good at getting Confederates with your Laffey, then definitely run Halsey on here. Then you have Untraceable. If you manage to get a double strike, your detection will drop by 10%, which would be a very stealthy Laffey if you're able to activate that skill. Otherwise, I have my Halsey more set up for Hull in Sherman, as I feel like I'm more apt to get Confederates or maybe even a double strike, but Confederates more confidently on them. So that's other possible options in terms of the commander build. The other thing we could talk about would be the main battery and AA specialist. It's a -5% to your main battery reload time, and then a +10% to your continuous AA damage, which falls in line with the more AA build. If you want to build your Laffey more into an AA style, then I would probably say drop Fearless Brawler and pick up the main battery and AA specialist. It's basically what I'm getting here is, we're still helping our AA out with the additional explosion in the AA salvo. We're getting a -10% reload time. Where here, you're boosting the continuous AA damage, and the damage by shell explosions only works if the enemy CV flies into that flak cloud, right? So if I was going more for an AA build, I would probably lean more towards the main battery and AA specialist than Fearless Brawler. I don't really feel the main battery AA expert is worth it. Your main battery firing range goes up by plus 20%. You do get a buff to your AA shell explosions. You know, maybe if I'm doing like ops, Laffey build, then maybe I begin to consider this because boats there sail straight lines pretty much. But with the 127s, this is hard. It's already a little difficult, to be honest, to land shells accurately at 12.4. So you're talking about going up to like 14, over 14 kilometers. So that's just going to be a challenge unless it's, you know, you're on Hermes and the German battleship line is all sailing together in a block. So people who don't, bots that don't use rudder shift typically, right? Other skill could be considered radio location. You know, you could swap out Fearless Brawler for radio location. You know, after the skill is mastered, the player will have the direction to the nearest enemy ship direct indicated to them. So it gives you a little more direction of which way to go. You know, like the Shimakaze in yesterday's video, I didn't really know where he went in part of the battle when he ran from me. And he ended up going further into my team spawn, which sucked. Didn't quite catch that. So then I would have known where to keep pushing. But, you know, Shimakaze with an engine boost goes faster than me. You know, you don't necessarily have the ability to run down a destroyer even if you have radio location. So that's why, like, Marceau is pretty deadly in being a destroyer assassination build with radio location. Dazzle, you know, it stays active for 15 seconds after your ship has been spotted. You know, ship speed plus 8%, dispersion of shells fired by enemies attacking your ship, plus 20%. I mean, maybe when you're coming out of the smokes, I could see kind of the use here. I don't always talk about Dazzle. I need to do this a whole entire destroyer build, cruiser build, battleship skill this video and just talking them through. But usually, you know, you see this more in competitive, like clan battles on like Gdansk, Daring, Ragnar. It's usually where you can see this skill end up being used as example. I don't really recommend building to the torpedoes either, just because like if you want to build in torps, I'm like, dude, just take gearing. You know, here you can see we have 10.5, and the torpedoes even do more damage, and it's 103-second reload time versus 140-second reload time. And even once I build into the torps, then you can see I'm dropping down to 92.7. And that's still with the main battery mod 3 in the 6th slot. So basically, you know, one thing to think about if you have gearing, you know, if you could make Laffey more of the gun focused, and you could swing gearing more into torpedoes as example, right? Because you also have the 16.5 kilometer torpedoes as well. So you could kind of balance those two between, like, now that I have Laffey, like, for me, I'd probably want to swing gearing more into a torpedo build as an example. So just something to keep in mind if you want to have some diversity among the ships that you have. Other than that, you know, I think I've kind of hit on the skills as a whole. I'm pretty confident. I'm really comfortable with this build. You know, the only other skill, you know, I would really like to have would be main battery and A specialist. You know, maybe I'll drop Fearless Brawler for that, but I kind of want more DPM with my main battery because you have a limited smokes and you're going to be firing. You're going to be detected a lot when you end up firing. So this makes more sense to me to take this build. And if you're spotted, you know, likely you're going to be shot at. So not a real strong need for a priority target, in my opinion. So that being said, I hope you liked today's upgrade and commander build video on Laffey. Let me know what you're running in the comments. If you have some differences or you have some questions, we can discuss below. Again, this video is just my opinion. It's my recommendation. It doesn't mean it's the end all. I'm sure there's some other different combinations you could run, particularly to what fancies you, what suits you, and what you want to get out of the ship in the game. So that being said, if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. And subscribe, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.